Can you run a sub-3 marathon only running 4 days a week? That is a question I've been asking myself for the entirety of this prep. So, for some background, I'm a new dad. He's about 9 months old as of making this video. I also do shift work, so I'm a mixture of like earlys, lates, nights, anywhere between 8.5 to 12 hour shifts through all days of the week, so weekends and stuff like that. So obviously it's been hard and I'm very limited on the time that I have to train. I thought I'd just give you a breakdown of how this 16-week training block's been, some background, and if I think I'm going to do it. So we've got London next week now, so Sunday 26th of April. So whilst we're on the tape, I thought it'd be a good time to reflect. And some background. So I ran my first marathon, London Marathon 2021. That was a charity spot. Thought give marathon a go, tick it off the bucket list. I ran that in 5 hours and 58 seconds, and I was completely embarrassed by my time. I just didn't post it anywhere, and I was just so disappointed in myself for the lack of preparation I went into it, how much I underestimated the marathon distance and just didn't respect it. So I've never naturally been a good runner, so to say I'm now going for a sub-3 is crazy. The year after that, I put in a proper block, got myself some decent trainers, fully focused on my running and kind of stepped away a little bit from the gym. So London 2022, finally crossed the line, sub-4, 3 hours 53. And then I got into an ultra marathon where I ran 85k for a charity that was just an unsanctioned event. That was something me and my mate done and trained for. I then got myself into HYROX, started to dabble in that a little bit. I think I've done maybe 10 races, got my doubles time down to 57.29, singles time was like 105, so I had a good little run at that, and to be honest, got a bit bored of it. It just very samey, wasn't enjoying the training, wasn't enjoying chasing those numbers anymore. And then had another crack at the marathon, Manchester Marathon in 2024. I ran a 3:15, which I was absolutely buzzing with, and then that kind of put the pillars in place to go and try sub-3 at some point. And to be honest, that prep wasn't the best either. I didn't really fully dedicate myself to it as much as what I should have. The following year, 2025, Hackney Half, I was still training for HYROX. I was doing a lot of my HYROX work at this time, so my threshold stuff was really good. I ran a 126 at Hackney Half without really directly training for it. So I was buzzing with that, and then a week later, I ran London to Brighton 100k, which I'd done in just over 12 hours, and that was, I'd say, probably hands down one of like my best achievements or like my favourite achievements that I've done. It was, that just suits me so well, like that long, slow distance, that slog. Really enjoyed that. I got my 10k time down to 38.50. I think that might have been a couple of weeks after London to Brighton. That was in a triathlon relay with my mates, so that was like a really fun thing to do. And then my first backyard ultra, late 2025, where I done, I think, 12 yards. I got to the morning shift, done the day route, and then I tapped out after that. So I think in total it was like 85k. So that was really cool. Again, like I say, I think that style suits me better rather than like fast 5Ks. Like my 5K time was 19:07. I tried to PB it like mid block of what we're in now, and I ran like a 19:19. So I'm slower somehow. Sub-3 marathon, what does it require? It requires 4:15 pace. Really, you need to go faster than that, but it's a 21-minute 5K 8.5 times, which is just mental to think that I've got to try and hold that when that is kind of quite close to my 5k PB time. How I've been training for this block, so for full transparency, I've been using Runner. I don't endorse Runner. Got nothing to do with them, no affiliation. I know they get a lot of backlash with people getting injured, they're not setting up the plans properly, they're not like bespoke and specific to you, but I can't dish out 180 quid a month on a running coach. Like, I just haven't got that kind of money laying around when I've got a newborn and holidays, seeing friends, seeing family, you've got a fucking mortgage and a dog. Like, it's just not feasible for me at the moment. So I thought Runner, 15 quid a month, that will give me some structure. I used it for Manchester Marathon alongside HYROX and it worked really well. But this one, I was like, I'm all in on trying to get sub-3. And obviously with my shift work, I have to move the sessions around, and that is alongside strength training as well, which I do 2, sometimes 3 days a week if I have the time to do it. So in total, I'm probably working out 5, 6, sometimes 7 times a week if my shift pattern and what's required of me indoors allows it. So I pride myself on trying to keep the muscle that I've gained, naturally being a skinny kid, I was never like naturally big, never naturally been good at running, naturally like muscular or whatever. So I wanted to keep as much muscle as I can alongside trying to train for a sub 3. I did have the plan of trying to get back to a 3 plate bench alongside that, but tried it maybe like a month ago, messed my shoulder up, so that's out the window. So yeah, I usually program my own stuff, which I've done notoriously for a long time through the years of training, everything I've accomplished, and my understanding and knowledge of my body, how it works and what's required of it. But Runner just gave me that little bit more structure that I needed, but sometimes it would give me a speed session that I just know I can't do, like after a night shift, coming home to dealing with a baby, and then like fatigue is just not there. I'm not fueling correctly because of like the nights and everything else. So I do adapt it to how my life is and how it's going. And I'd recommend anyone that uses Runner to do the same. Take it with a pinch of salt. It's not bespoke to you. So you just have to adapt it to your life and your lifestyle. So the basic layout of the running weeks. Let me write this down. So hopefully you can see that, but the basic layout is one long run which alternates, well, it was alternating every week between easy and one that had some sort of like speed work in, whether it be kind of like tempo work and then marathon pace, and then 1 to 2 hard sessions. So there might be not hard, but like kind of some sort of interval work, whether it's 400s, 800s, 1 mile repeats or 2k, 3ks, or whatever pace, kind of anywhere between like 350s or lower. 1 or 2 easy runs, so they will like build up to 15, 16, maybe even like 20k, some of the easy runs, when the long runs were like 30 plus. I think I've done maybe 3 or 4 runs over 30k, and then 2 to 3 strength sessions. So it'd be 1 lower, always 1 lower, never do any more than that, and then 1 or 2 upper workouts, which would vary, and if I had time to, I'd always do one upper, 1 lower, and then if I had time, the extra upper session. The easy pace, like which a majority of my sessions were built up from, they kind of range anywhere between like 5 to 5:30 per kilometre. That's where I sit around comfortably, kind of fairly lowish heart rate. And with the strength session, so like I said, I'll move this around depending on how my week looks. So I would never do a hard session after my legs session. So purely for recovery purposes, because the main focus is running, like trying to build my legs up isn't really a thing at a minute. It's just something where I'm doing it to complement my running. So the strength session for my lower days is Cossack squats with a Copenhagen plank. So that's like, what's the inner bit of your thigh called? Adductor. So working on the adductor. Single leg split stance hold, I think it's called. That's supersetted with like a semi-weighted seated box squat jump thing. I'll try and put a video in so you can see it. Zercher squats, a hamstring curl supersetted with calf raises, and then a elevated RDL. I do elevated just to increase my range of motion and get that strength side of it in. But it's worth noting, I don't really tend to go to failure too much on legs because I don't want to absolutely batter them. I get like a decent amount of intensity in, but towards this back half especially, I'm staying away from going to failure. And then my upper days kind of varies, but mostly it looks like face pulls supersetted with dips into bench supersetted with side raises. I'm doing all this just to save time and cram it in, and most things are like 2 top sets, so I'm getting good intensity. Shoulder press superset with pull-ups and a mid-row, and then just smashing out some arms at the end. That might take anywhere from like an hour to hour and 10. It's a lot to squeeze in, but like I say, I need to do that, and then if I do the extra session, then I just kind of top up on things that I want to top up on. As for running volume, from my understanding, most people running or trying to run sub 3 are doing 100k weeks, maybe more. For me, it's not feasible. I just don't really have the time to do it, even though now I can run 30k if I just do it easy at like a 5:30 pace. I think it might take me like 2.5 hours, which is so different to when I first started. Like I'd be out for like 3.5 hours, which is just fucking mad. So I've been averaging around I've been averaging around 70k a week consistently, with a few tapers in there just to let my body adapt and they kind of come at the right time, to be honest. Like when I'm on nights, my fatigue goes out the window. So having those table weeks has definitely helped. Yeah, I'll put a little chart up so you can kind of see the natural progression. But obviously, I rolled off the back of a backyard ultra in November, so my running has been consistent. I've always been training, so it's not like I've just jumped into a 16-week block and gone straight up. But I've followed runner as it set out. So like the first week was like 40k, and then just gradually increased over time. So touch wood, like no injuries. I've stayed pretty solid this whole prep. So just to talk through a couple of the key sessions I've done. One of them was, I think it was 8k warm up, 8k at 4:30, and then it was meant to be 19 at marathon pace, which was so daunting to me. I just didn't feel ready to do it. So I met up with my boy and we broke it down into 4 lots of 5k, even though obviously that was 1 more k more than 19. But we ended up doing that faster than the 4:15, because really to get the sub 3, running 4:15 probably isn't going to cut it, because you're more than likely going to run 200 metres over. We averaged around like maybe 4:05 to 4:10 per 5k, maybe like 3 to 5 minutes rest in between each block. That gave me a little bit of confidence, but I still wasn't entirely confident. I didn't wear super shoes for that race. I wore Adidas Evo SLs, so I didn't have no extra push from carbon plates. Didn't give me much confidence, but fast forward to, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, I had 15k easy and 17k at marathon pace, which I hit mostly at 4:10. Obviously, some of them were a little bit slower, maybe like 4:15, 4:20. It was all around marathon pace at like 4:10, where I ideally want to sit, because I want to make sure I go clear. I want enough time to, like, anything might go wrong, do you know what I mean? So as much time as I can give myself, the better. And yeah, that felt really good. Obviously, when I was hitting like the 4:20s and stuff, that was only because of stopping for traffic, or I had to move out of the way of someone or whatever when running around London. At the start of the block, I favoured the treadmill a lot, only because I wanted to adjust my body to running that pace and force that pace on me to see what it feels like under my body, but I've become too reliant on it. Obviously, training for a spring marathon in the UK winter is just fucking shit. So obviously I favoured the treadmill more, and I probably shouldn't have, but for me personally, I wanted to get my body running at pace under its own steam. So eventually I did start getting outside more for my speed sessions. I just sucked it up. I live in a really hilly area, so doing my easy runs outside, it was good. Like, it helps building my leg strength up and a bit more cardiovascular work. But running speed sessions around here, it's just really tough. But there's a really boring loop that I do around my house. I think it's like maybe 800 metres or something. So I've just been grinding that out, getting down to the track when I can. So is it possible on 4 days a week? To be honest, I really don't know. Like, when I've looked on forums and stuff, some people have said yes, some people have said no. Maybe I needed more time or like a longer prep. I don't know. But I don't know, we'll find out. I feel like this is the fittest I've ever been. When I ran 3:15 in Manchester, I'm definitely fitter than that. And my watch is saying I should be on pace for a 3:15. My threshold is apparently 4:10. Obviously, I put all this into ChatGPT and all my workouts and heart rate data. ChatGPT reckons I'm sub 3 fit, but I need to be clever with it. However, I did have my VO2 max tested last year in the middle running Hackney Half and the London to Brighton 100k. Even though my VO2 max was relatively low, like 55, 56, they said my ability to deal with lactate build-up is really good. So like when it looks like I should be kind of tipping off because of lactate, I managed to keep going. So I'm trusting that I can do it. I'm trusting that I've suffered for a lot longer. But I'm not good at running hard for a long period of time. Obviously, that's evident with my 5k time. I just can't get below 19. I've tried a few times. It's just not really happening for me. Yeah, so confidence is there to do it, but it also isn't. Anything can happen in the day. I've got the solid running base, like I said, but the marathon owes you nothing. We've got to respect the distance no matter what, and it's tough. Like, yeah, maybe I should have done more to run more, or maybe sacrifice a session in the gym, but that's something I don't want to do. I still do enjoy going to the gym and doing those strength sessions, trying to be a runner that's got like a little bit more muscle mass. Like, it's obviously tough trying to balance it all and everything else outside of running, life, things you've got to sacrifice. So I'm hoping it happens on the day. I'm just trusting, like I say, trusting the process, trusting the prep, trusting I'm the fittest I have ever been. I suppose we'll see what happens. If anyone else has got any similar stories, if they have run a sub 3 on 4 days of running prep, then sick, let me know. But other than that, I think that's everything. So yeah, as of today, we're like 10 days out from London, fully into the taper week now. That is it, I suppose. I'll try and make a video after London and break down whether this worked or not. Before we finish, actually, I thought I'd just touch on racing fueling strategy, what I'm wearing. So I'm going with the Adidas Pro 4s. I had my gait analysis done, and the two that come up were, I think, the Hoka Celio X or whatever, but they felt too unstable. The Alpha Fly 3, which surprisingly felt really good for me, like really comfortable shoe. They fitted my foot really well. The Adidas Pro 4. So when I got myself the Alpha Fly 3, tried them out on a few sessions, and it just didn't have that pop that I wanted, or like that extra bit of like, you know, like when you stood there and you feel like you want to fall forward. They didn't have that for me, and I didn't feel like they gave me that extra bit of push when I've done the faster sessions. I've done long run in them and like they felt good. So got myself Pro 4s. Unfortunately, haven't been able to do a massive long run in them, but I've done maybe 2 or 3 runs and they felt so much better. So I'm going to go with them for race day. In terms of fueling, I've been using Sturcar because they are 50 grams of carbs, even though they've got no electrolytes in them. So I'm taking Precision Fuel and hydration tablets. I'll take 2 of those every time I take a gel. The plan is to go for anywhere between 60 and 90 grams per hour. So I need to work it out exactly, but I'm going to take one before the start, and then after 2.5k, and then possibly every 7k or 7.5k after that. I don't know, I need to work it out to make sure I get the right amount. I'm also going to be loading, literally these just got delivered as I was filming this video. So I've got Beat It Sport Nitrate 400. These are meant to help reduce time to fatigue and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to load on these from possibly Sunday, and then take 2 on race day. Other than that, I think that's it for fueling. Obviously carb loading, I'm about 83 kilos, so if you go for like 8 to 10 grams per kilogram, I'll probably shoot for like 850. I've seen a lot of videos recently talking about your carb loading, you're not calorie loading, so I'll need to reduce protein, reduce fibre, and then fill up the rest of my plate with carbs. So it's just eating bigger portions and obviously eating just a little bit more to eat 800, which 800 is fucking loads. Hopefully things go well, everything goes well with the taper, everything comes together with the carb loading and the rest and sleep. I'll do my best, but obviously I've got a little one, so that ain't going to be happening too much, but hopefully we can make the most of it this week. So that is it. Can you run a sub 3 marathon on 4 days of running? We are going to fuck around and find out as of next Sunday.